Did you grab your ticket to the Ordinary Summit yet? It starts October 14th. Go to theordinarybusiness.com to grab yours. This is the Ordinary Business Podcast for business owners who want honest conversations, a lean business, and an extraordinary life on their own terms. Jenny, what is your favorite day trip to take from Munich?
Ooh, I would have to say it's Tegernsee. It is a beautiful lake region that's about 50 minutes outside of Munich, easily accessible by train. The lakes it's a lake, and the mountain views are just so amazing. And it has like a lot of Bavarian charm. So no matter what time of year you go, like snowy, it's beautiful. Fall, it's beautiful. Summer, especially, because you can swim in the lake. It's beautiful.
I'll put this on my list for the next time I'm in Munich.
Yes, we have to go. We have to go.
We are talking today about your experience as living abroad in Germany and running a business where most or all of your clients are U.S. based. And you are originally from the U.S. also. So to get started, can you just introduce yourself and tell us about what you do?
Yes. So I'm Ginny Krauss. I'm the co-founder of Supported CEO, where I help entrepreneurs and creatives overcome overwhelm, make aligned decisions, and live their best life while doing their life's work. Outside of work, I'm also a mom of 2 boys, ages 10 and 7. And I've lived abroad in Germany for over a decade now.
But this isn't your first business either. Can you give us a little Spark Notes version of what you used to do?
I've been an entrepreneur for over a decade, like 14 years. This is my third business, might be my fourth that I've built. I used to run like a wedding marketing company that had like an international wedding blog, like when the blogging scene was big. That was a decade ago. And then I ran a coaching business for wedding pros, specifically that was like course membership type business. And a big chunk, and then I always had that in tandem with a branding agency. So brand strategy in tandem with like brand design, normally partnered with a web designer. So I've always helped people in marketing. I've been a business coach, done a lot of PR, branding, mindset coaching work around like visibility. And so all of my experience finally was the evolution to the current business that I co-founded. Mm-hmm. And it's the most aligned business that I've ever ran. And I just love it so much. I'm so in love with this business and all the work that it's taken to be able to give myself the space to pause, pull things down, burn things down, to rebuild, ask myself really hard questions, give myself space, and rebuild from a place of true alignment so I could have a business that really fueled my life and what I wanted to do entrepreneurial as well. Because for a long time, it always felt like I was sacrificing something.
Mm-hmm. And this is a big reason I wanted to have you on the podcast, is because I know a lot of people struggle with this. And then you also have this other kind of layer of living abroad, being in a different time zone, mm-hmm. and all that. And so we are going to talk about capacity and schedules and all that. So we're going to dive in with, what does a typical workday look like for you now? And what did it look like, 5-7 years ago?
I used to work a lot of evenings, a lot of nights, so I'm in Munich. I'm 6 hours ahead of the East Coast, US. A lot of my time my calendar was full of calls, coaching calls, strategy calls, and often they were starting at 3 p.m. my time and going until 8 p.m. And mind you, my kids are now 10 and 7. So that was kind of my schedule when I was having babies and like getting into motherhood. Spoiler alert, not a great combination, guys. Like, let me let you know, okay? So that, looking back now, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? Yeah. I was thinking like I had goals and I had ambition and I could do it all because we were sold a lie as women that there's no sacrifice in anything, which isn't true. But now my life is really different. But it wasn't an overnight thing. Like it really took like pulling back layers, asking myself hard questions, restructuring an offer, learning how to set boundaries with clients, speaking up for myself in terms of like, can we do this call earlier? So now my hours are just like more aligned with my time zone, what the work hours that I really want to be working. And it's not in the evenings that are like interrupting like my family time. But it took me a long time to give myself permission to make that clear distinction. And I know that might sound crazy, especially if you're someone listening to this in the USA, because you're like, yeah, of course, like I'm not working past dinner. Or after I pick the kids up from school. But when you live abroad on a different time zone, oftentimes you feel this inner pull to make things convenient for your client and not make it convenient for you, like the provider. And I think you end up being a better provider if you just ask yourself those hard questions of what you really do want your days to look like, and then just slowly start working towards that.
And I love that you really took the time to like, what do I want? What do I want my work to look like, my days to look like, and still want to work with people, where I feel like a lot of people would just automatically think, okay, well, I have to pivot into completely passive income. And now I'm only going to sell courses and ebooks.
Right.
Which, nothing wrong with that. But you were like, I still want to work with people and dig into their business, dig into the heart of what they're doing. And I just need to shift the offer and the client expectations.
Yeah. I will say I did need to have other offers too, because I want to be fully honest. You know, I do have a membership that doesn't require me to be like on coaching calls with these people. And so that's a part of my income too. So the clients that I am on calls with, like that is selective.
Right.
And I probably wouldn't choose to have the bulk of my income tied to me needing to be on calls all the time. And that's a personal choice. And that's as someone who loves to work with people, but it's about the season of life that I'm in. And I'm a big proponent, and I do this with like my clients that I work with, is like really getting laser focused on the season of life that you're in and what you want your life and business to feel like. Because I feel like as entrepreneurs, we get in this trap of like, I'm making one decision about how my business looks and it's supposed to look like this forever. And instead of saying like, it can look like this in this season, and in the next season, I'm allowed to actually change my mind.
Yeah.
And in this season, you know, my kids being 10 and 7, like they're doing sports, they're doing after school practices. And like, it's part of my values is like, when I ask myself the question of like, what kind of mom do I want to be? I want to be able to take my kids to those things. I want to be at practice. I want to be on the sidelines of those things. And I can't do that if I'm accommodating the West Coast of America clients in that regard.
Yeah. So to get into some like nitty gritty for those who are curious, do you like mention this on your sales pages? Are you mentioning this like on discovery calls? Like your availability and like, hey, heads up, like I'm in Munich. Are you ever lenient? Are you like, oh, just for this one client, I can do one call a month in the evenings if it works? Or is that like a very hard boundary?
So my business partner is also an American who lives abroad. So she lives in Portugal. So both of us live abroad. And we do have it on our website that we both live abroad. So when clients inquire, they pretty much like have an idea that they know where we are in the world. And when we send them our intake form, I'm pretty sure it's very clear on there, like where we are and the times that we are mostly available for calls, to kind of get like when they're available. So I think we just mentioned that we mostly work morning hours, like East Coast time. However, everybody's human. There's always an exception. So I think you're allowed to have like boundaries with an exception, you know, so if like we have a client who, you know, might need to have a later call, like I might make that exception. I wouldn't sign a client on in this season of my life that needed to do 7 p.m. calls my time on a regular. So like that would be a boundary for me. But if I have a client where we normally do 3 p.m. calls, but like 1 week or 1 month even they're traveling and they're in another time zone, like I would need to accommodate that. I would make that choice and make that accommodation.
Yeah. I mean, because I've also had international clients. I've had a few Australian clients and, you know, typically not doing 5 a.m. strategy calls over here. But when I have had those Australian clients, they're like, so like, how are we gonna communicate? And now I've had several. And so I'm always like, not a problem. Have dealt with this before. Like I am an early bird, so I'm happy to hop on a 5 a.m. call. and so I like very quickly open my Calendly availability. Like book this call. I don't want other people to know that I do these 5 a.m. calls because it's only for overseas clients. But yeah, you can have those boundaries and make an exception. But I think it's important also, like you said, I'm not going to sign a client who needs that timing every single month. But if they're sick or traveling, like, yeah, I'm human.
But there was a version of me that used to do that.
I know you've talked about like working through this and it took a lot of time. Like, did you ever kind of have this like guilt of like, I'm not being a nice person by saying I'm not available in the evenings, or like, oh, I'm going to lose clients if I'm not available?
I don't think the inner voice was like, I'm not being a nice person. My thing is that I want to help everybody. And it used to be a detriment to myself, but it was this big aha that I had, I don't know, probably 7 years ago now, that like I was coaching a lot of clients and I wasn't saving room to really support myself. I was not making space for me. And I was being a support system for a lot of other entrepreneurs. And so I paused and I really took like 3 years off of coaching anyone and really just like honored that space for me and what I need. And obviously like my business looked different during that time. But that was a big aha of like, if I was going to coach again, it had to look different. And that is how Supported CEO was born, not only for me and my business partner, Ellie, to have a business that looked different, but it was a way of teaching other entrepreneurs to also do this same thing, to like ask the hard questions, to rebuild their businesses from the inside out, to really serve all of who they are. Because if we're ignoring part of ourselves, like eventually it's just gonna all fall down.
Yeah. I really think it's so important that entrepreneurs really pay attention to like, how are we able to support ourselves and take care of ourselves?
Yeah. There's nothing more important than like you, the human. Nothing. Like, and all of your dreams and goals, like they don't have deadlines. I didn't make that up. LL Cool J made it up. I just want you to know it's an LL Cool J quote. Okay. Dreams don't have deadlines.
I love it.
We have been fed for so many years, like build the next offer, do the next launch, hit the next milestone. And I really want to normalize like hitting the pause button, hitting the reset button, taking time for yourself, because only then that is when like you can really get clear about what you need, what you want, and building something from that place is a really beautiful place to run a business from.
Yes. I'm curious if the German work culture has had any influence on this decision, or what other ways like the German work culture has influenced your business.
Yeah, I think a lot. I think the biggest one I would say is the differences in Americans. I think we are raised with this mentality to not really ever take time off. That's about fully relaxing, fully recharging. And this is due to a big gap in the paid time off between America and most European countries. So in Germany, and specifically here in Bavaria, we get 30 plus days of vacation days. And it is common for people to take 3-week vacations in the summer. And you're not coming back from that with people being like, oh, must be nice. So it's really common that people take 3-week vacations in the summer. They take their holidays unapologetically. And they go outside. They enjoy hobbies. They rest. They allow themselves to fully disconnect. And I'm always amazed at, like my husband who has a corporate job and he has like very big deadlines, very big projects that he's up against. Like he is never sweating about his days off, never sweating about, he took 3.5 weeks off this summer. We traveled to the States. His projects always hit deadline. Always hit it. His whole team. Everybody's taking this amount of time. And it amazes me like how they just do it. But I think they do it because they're really off when they're off. And that enables them to be on when they're on. And that's really what I've adopted out of like living in this culture. I take on average like 4 to 5 weeks off per year in my business. And here, when I'm at a beach like in Europe with other Europeans, like you're never hearing Europeans like working at the beach. Like they're reading, they're swimming, they're, sailing, they're paddleboarding. Like it's true leisure time. So I really feel like that's a big gap between the cultures. Yeah. But again, like it's fueled by the fact that like if Americans got a lot more paid time off, like I think it would be different.
So early on in your marriage and in business, did you also take 3 weeks off back then? Were you like, oh, he has 3 weeks off, we're going to go here. And then like, oh, but I'm still going to have to work.
I was in the mentality of especially building an online business that I could work from anywhere. So that meant I took my work everywhere. And so that's kind of a trap in and of itself of living this air quote laptop lifestyle, if you will, that we all wanted to live when we started these businesses. And mine very much is I wanted living abroad. I missed my family. And I wanted to be able to work for my grandmother's kitchen table. And I wanted to go spend 2 weeks with my family at a time, and multiple times. And I just couldn't. And that's really where it started. But that led me to working everywhere I could take my laptop. So then so it was a progression of, well, then I'm always on. And now I'm very intentional with my time off is my time off, because I've learned that I am much better in my business when I'm really resting and recharging. And when I built that separation between Ginny, the human, versus Ginny, the entrepreneur business owner.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I agree. I feel like there used to be so much marketing. I mean, there still is, but I feel like it used to be a lot louder about, oh, well, like we can work from anywhere. That's the benefit of like running your own business. And I'm like, I want my version of anywhere to be like the couch or the coffee shop, not on vacation. To wrap up, I want to talk about, do you have like a system, a boundary, anything that you've set up that has had the biggest payoff in keeping everything, quote unquote, balanced in your life? And I say quote unquote because we all know like it's not perfect.
I have two.
Okay.
I have two.
I love it.
One is setting boundaries around my availability, which we kind of already talked about a little bit. But the biggest thing to that was I don't have email on my phone, and I haven't for about 5 years now. This helps me be present when I'm not working. And it's easy to feel like I could or should reply to this now to like mark it off my list. But the reality is like it can and should wait until tomorrow. And that reason is I try not to teach people that I'm available to them 24/7. I used to do that. That was also leading to my burnout, to my overwhelm, to my non-separation of human self and work self. So that's a big key. The other thing is, because you use the word keep me balanced, the phrase, that's my journal. It was about 4 years ago that I started journaling in my business for my business. And like big picture visionary things, big picture decisions. That is actually how I got to the root of making all of these big decisions. That's helped me shift and change my life in the way that I work, which has helped me feel more balanced inside of my business and outside of my business.
How long do you spend journaling, like on a daily basis?
10 minutes.
Yeah. So it's
I
not like,
journaled for 5 minutes this morning.
Yeah. So it's not like Ginny is setting aside an hour of her morning. Because I think sometimes we see these like influencer morning routines and they're like, I light a candle. I
still ain't never had a morning like that. Okay. I have a candle on my desk, and I kid you not, I couldn't find my lighter today. And I was just like, well, I guess the candle's not being lit.
It's here for moral support.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like these are just small little things you can add into your day and like really focus on taking care of yourself and protecting those boundaries. And it doesn't have to be anything big and fancy and complicated. So y'all need to go join the journal club so you can get these prompts and start adding a little 5-minute journal session to your days. Thank you for sharing your experience and your boundaries and a little peek into like what it's like living abroad. And I'm just proud of you for having those boundaries and not working till, 10 p.m. every night. Where can we connect with you and follow along?
Yeah. So supportedceo.com and on Instagram at supported_CEO. I'm also on Instagram under my personal, and that's Ginny Krauss, Ginny with a G, y'all.
Love it. I will link that in the show notes for y'all so you can go connect with Ginny. But thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you.